Good morning and welcome to Truck Weight Analysis, helping distributors to sell. Truck Science partnered with NTA in 2019 to provide members with a next level solution for calculating axle weights. We extend a special welcome to our NTA members joining us this morning. My name is Sarah O'Grady and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Truck Science. So what are we going to talk about today? Upfitters who perform weight studies provide valuable information to their prospects and customers. This includes information on axle weights, centre of gravity, maximum payload, and crucially, compliance with manufacturer limits and road regulations. Having appropriate tools backed by relevant data allows this information to be calculated and presented in a professional and timely manner. Body and equipment manufacturers can support their distributors or direct sales teams by providing them with the data they need to perform weight studies quickly and easily. We're going to explore how body and equipment suppliers can make their product specs available either to only trusted distributors or to the wider Truck Science user base. The webinar will include a live demo of the Truck Science axle weight calculator, albeit a very short one, and this will be using a Class 3 vehicle. As we know, truck design is all about competing priorities. In this graphic, the up and down arrows contain the things that manufacturers, upfitters, fleets, and end users care about. And the bubble at the bottom reminds us of what the chassis OEMs and governments need us to comply with. Performing weight, centre of gravity, and payload analysis before embarking on a truck build helps you to achieve more equal utilization of the axle capacities, better vehicle stability, and a higher maximum payload. It should also contribute to decreasing capital cost and fuel consumption through right-sizing the chassis, avoiding unforeseen issues that could result in rework and costly rework normally, maintenance and warranty issues. And it also helps to confirm that the vehicle will have a turning radius that is suitable for the site or sites in which it will operate. Of course, all of this needs to happen against a backdrop of constraints, including the chassis OEM's ratings for the vehicle, for example, the gross axle weight ratings and GVWR regulations for the states and or provinces in which the vehicle will be operated, and your own organization's best practices, or as we call them, organization standards. I'm sure you could think of a few more points to add to this slide. Some of you have been using Truck Science for years and others are seeing it for the first time today. So the pace may be a little slow or a little fast for some of you at times, but don't worry, there won't be a test at the end. And if you'd like to schedule a personal demo after the webinar to walk through some examples that are relevant to you and what you do in your company, we'd gladly set that up for you. I will try my best to strike the balance between giving people that are new to Truck Science enough information to know what's going on without boring those of you who are proficient in the use of the tool. Quick slide here about what Truck Science is and what it is not. At its heart, the Truck Science axle weight calculator is a software tool for speccing the best truck for the job at the preliminary or concept stage. It is not a complex engineering tool and does not perform, for example, crane stability, frame stress, cornering, or braking calculations. The tool brings chassis, body, and equipment specs and legislation together so that you can calculate weight distribution, dimensions, centre of gravity, and maximum payload, and also ensure that you comply with manufacturer and regulation limits. We're going to jump into a quick demo now. I'm going to show you how to configure a vehicle by adding a body and equipment to a standard OEM chassis. We're going to calculate axle weights, maximum payload, centre of gravity, and overall dimensions. We're going to confirm the configuration complies with your chosen regulations, and we're going to generate a report with true-to-life drawings. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now with the Truck Science axle weight calculator open. And the first thing we need to do when we use the calculator is to choose a chassis. So we're here on new calculation. I'm going to sort or work through the library here to find the chassis that I want. I want a Ford Super Duty 4x4, but as you can see, there are quite a number of chassis specs to choose from there, so I can further just filter this. 350, regular, diesel, and dual rear wheels. Okay, so I'll just sort the list then on spec date, and I'm going to choose this this vehicle with a 169-inch wheelbase from the 2023 model year. So a little bit of orientation here just to show you around. All of the inputs go in on the left here. We've got vehicle, body, equipment, payload, attributes on the left-hand side. There's a compliance dashboard here below the cab, and that just shows you if you're complying with manufacturer limits, regulations, which in this case today will be for Illinois state roads, and then organization standards, which should turn green when we actually build up the vehicle. Those are standards that you can define for your own personal or company standards. Then there's a weights table here that will show you axle weight distribution. You can see there in the gross weights in green. Also show you the utilization of the axles, and when we've added a body, it'll give you a maximum payload figure. There are different views here on the right-hand side and top views, center of gravity view, bridge view, etc. And up top, we can generate a report or save or share this calculation. So we're going to add a body to this vehicle. There is a library here of body specs. We'll add a service body. You can search the library for something that you're looking for. You can choose to import a DXF file. So before we move forward with importing a DXF, I'm just going to choose some information that's already in the public domain. You can choose to add something from the library or import a DXF file. If I go to the Reading Truck website, go to truck bodies, service bodies, go down here to specs. So, SL service body. Some specs information here. And if we look for the 132-inch body, you can see there's a whole lot of information available on the body here, different attributes, and a drawing. So at that stage, I would flick over to the explainer video from Truck Science that shows you how to prepare a drawing for import if you're going to import that drawing. And then once you've done that, you can import the drawing from here. So we just eyeball the drawing to make sure it's the correct one. And we can drag it to the XY position if necessary. It's not necessary this time. And as we found on the Reading website here, we've got a length of 132. So we just fill in those dimensions. And again, the body width is 93 and the compartment's 21.5. So this is just standard information that's normally available on spec sheets that are already in the public domain. Again, we need to just find the body weight, which is here, 1,620 pounds for this particular one. And the center of gravity information has been estimated by default. So we give this a description. This is the space saver version. And I just simply add it to my drawing. I can position it on the chassis either by dragging it or simply drag it. Or I can just open the body attributes here on the left-hand side and specify its position relative to the cab. And also specify that position relative to the front axle if that's my preference. So once the body has been added, I can choose to save it. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about these options later, but I can save it to my own personal library, which will be reusable by myself in future, my team library, which will be reusable by my colleagues, or if I am the manufacturer of this body and I want to share it to what we call a distributor library, I can do so here and give anyone who reuses the body in future permission to just use a read-only copy or save an editable copy, for instance, if they want to change the weights. So there is ultimate control there on what you allow users of the spec to do. The last option, the most open one, is to share it to the public library for all users of truck science. As I said, I'll go into more detail on those later. I'm, for instance, just going to, just for demonstration purposes, share this one to the distributor library. Truck science staff will review that before adding it to your distributor library and check who should have access to that. So next, I'm just going to add a crane here. Again, I've gone to the, so you can search the library here for a crane. As you can see, there are a lot of cranes already in the library. You can import a DXF file, or you can ask us to add the crane for you. In this case, I'm going to import a DXF again. And I'm going to get the information for this from the AutoCrane website. You can find service crane specs here. And we are going to use this EHC for 16 foot. So there are spec sheets on here, manuals, and lots of drawings, dimensions, center of gravity, and weight information, all contained in this manual. I've just done a little bit of work earlier to get the DXF file. And we go through the same process, just positioning the crane. Specifying its length. Width. The weight, which again is available from the spec sheet. And this time I'm going to specify its center of gravity. Switching from specifying center of gravity as a percentage to actual absolute inch values. So I'll go 66. And again, we give this one a name. So again, we can drag the crane into position. Or I can just open the crane to change the position attributes, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go 30 above the chassis, 10 from the back of cab. Okay, and again, as a manufacturer, I can choose to save this to my own personal library, myself, my team library, or I can just share it to a distributor library where I can choose who has access to this crane in future. Or as AutoCrane have done with these cranes, very recently, they've added this range of cranes to our library, so they've been shared to the public library. And that's what I would do if I have permission to share this to the public library, or if I am the manufacturer and I can choose to do that, I just share it to the public library like that. And again, the truck science team would be in touch to make that happen. So that's our very simple configuration. For existing users that are on the call, I'm just going to show you 2 new features that are coming this week, just so you've something to take out of this, something extra. I'm going to switch to Colorado regulations here, just to show you the tips that the program is now popping up when, in response to what you're doing in the program. So for instance, if I change the energy source of this vehicle to battery electric in Colorado, I will qualify for an extra £2,000 weight. And the program is now going to tell me that. Okay, so your vehicle qualifies for a weight increase of £2,000 due to its energy source. So this is a new feature. You're going to get tips about various, I guess, changes, things that change as you go, depending on what you're doing in the drawing, or tips to help you to draw your attention to things like this, where you might want to take advantage of something that you may not have been aware of. One other thing that's happening this week is you're going to be able to add multiple views onto the report. It used to be a one-page. You were only able to add one view on there before, but from next week you'll be able to add multiple views, and that's something that lots of our users have requested for a long time. The program is quite a lot slower when I'm running it here with Zoom, but performance has not been degraded. Don't worry about that. So this is the report with the many views in it. I know some of our existing users that are on this call will be very happy to see that. That is a feature that has been requested time and again. So I'm just going to, that's it for the demo, Jens. Are there any questions before I move back to my presentation?
There aren't any questions yet, but please feel free to ask anything there in the Q&A section.
Okay, so I touched on this in the demo, this idea of library access all the way from public down to personal. So I just want to kind of discuss that a little bit further now. So this is one of the most popular features of the Axaway calculator, is the library of chassis, body and equipment specs. And I want to just elaborate a little bit on the various options for sharing specs in the tool and the implications of those. So as you saw in the demo, product specs can be saved to the user's own personal library, and that is the default option when saving anything to the library, that it would only be for your own personal reuse. To allow products to be reused in calculations internally in your organization for users that are on the same subscription or the same account as you, they can be shared in the team library. So that's one level up. To make the products available to approved users outside of your own organization, you may promote them to a distributor library and then explicitly grant access as the designated approver of that distributor library. To go one step further, products that are added to the library can be made available in the public library in the tool. And as the name suggests, this is the least locked down option. All users of truck science within this market will then be able to add that product to their layouts. As a manufacturer, you may be wondering why you should add your products to the library, or as an upfitter, I guess, wondering why a manufacturer would agree to do that for you. Many manufacturers have been adding their products in response to requests from upfitters. So if you are an upfitter or fleet engineer, would encourage you to reach out to the body and equipment manufacturers to have their specs added into the library. Other users approach us to add their products when they see it as an opportunity to promote their brand. And still another reason is that manufacturers want to control the quality and accuracy of information that is out there about their products. If you can see the difference between these two graphics at the bottom of this slide, you can see the quality of the drawings is not really comparable. On the left, we are using a template chassis with a template crane, and on the right-hand side, we're using a genuine Kenworth drawing with a drawing of a high-up crane. So you can see the difference. Sharing your products allows you to define accurate weights, center of gravity and dimensions, but it also allows your products to be represented with true-to-life drawings. Of course, you may have some concerns about this, and in some cases, there is a concern that adding products to the library will put information in the public domain that manufacturers would prefer to keep closer to their chests. But others will tell me that in this age of information, it's impossible to keep this information secret. We hear tales of drawings being exported from other tools, shared on the grapevine, or obtained through the practice of mystery shopping. So it is indeed a challenge to keep this information secret anyway. Certainly adding your products to the public library in Truck Science permits users unknown to you to have access to the very basic drawing, basic weight and dimensions information. If this is a concern, we always recommend that you start by adding products to the distributor library so that you can control who has access to them. We have heard from chassis dealers who are frustrated at some manufacturers' unwillingness to share product specs in the library, and these are just some of the alternative avenues that I have seen these dealers take. In some cases, products are being represented as rectangles on these drawings as opposed to alongside other professional drawings. So where some manufacturers are sharing specs and then others aren't, the manufacturers who don't share their specs end up being represented just as a rectangle that has a weight and center of gravity associated with it. This is indeed a disappointment for product designers who've spent a lot of effort making their products look pretty when they're being represented as rectangles on these drawings. In other cases, upfitters choose a competitor product for which there is a spec available, or they will use a competitor product to misrepresent yours on the drawing. Product drawings are also being exported from other tools anecdotally. I believe some other tools allow users to export the drawings as DXFs. It is not possible to reverse engineer or export a drawing from Truck Science other than in this PDF format that I showed you a few moments ago in the reports. So I guess, to allay your concerns or your fears, we would point out that there is limited data in the public domain anyway when they're added to Truck Science. It's a very simple sketch drawing. There is no DXF file available to be reverse engineered or downloaded. And there are very few attributes that are provided. Simple weight, center of gravity, and the major dimensions. Most of that information, or at least a lot of it, is already available on manufacturers' websites. The default mode is protected. It's by default, products are shared or saved to the personal library. And by default, if you do share something to the distributor or public libraries, they are made available in a read-only way. So users can't edit weights, they can't edit dimensions, or change center of gravity. As I said, the original drawings cannot be exported from the tool, and you have an option to use the disclaimers or warnings with your products. So for instance, if you're adding cranes, you can add a disclaimer that a crane stability calculation must be carried out. In general, if there is a concern about making data available to a wider audience, we would recommend that you try starting with the distributor library first, so that you can kind of take it one step at a time and promote to the public library when you have a level of comfort with it. Most of the information we need to add a product to the library is already provided on standard spec sheets. Where some is missing, we normally work with you to estimate it or scale dimensions from drawings, etc. All we need to add a product is a simple, very simple drawing in PDF or DXF format usually, the major dimensions, length, width, height, a weight, and a center of gravity point. And that's it. So if you're a fleet engineer or upfitter, and you can reach out to your body and equipment manufacturers to ask us to add their products. You can reach out to them on your behalf, or you can use existing relationships to help get the specs. If you're a manufacturer, we would recommend that you identify some products or even a product, work with the data team to add that product, and then decide who should have access to it. We, as I said, recommend that you start by putting something into the distributor library and consider widening the audience later. Or indeed, if you have a level of comfort to make the information available to the public, if it's already on your website, for instance, you could start by putting it straight into the public library.
Soka, maybe I can. A question has come through regarding the import of DXF files, and it's around. Well, the question is, can most drawings be converted to a DXF file? How do I go about doing this? So maybe you could just point out on our website the 2-minute videos that are available that explain this process. But the short answer is yes, that most drawings can be converted to DXF file, and we have step-by-step instructions on how to do that. Our support team is also available to assist you, and on the screen that Zach is sharing there now, at the bottom right, you'll see our chat icon that you can open up a chat with our support team to assist you.
Okay, so yeah, as Ian said, on the Truck Science website, there is a resources area here with explainer videos. These videos are all between 2, 3, 4 minutes long. And there is a section here on using the library, importing a drawing, and preparing a drawing for import. That 2-minute or 2 or 3 minute video will take you through the process of using, say, for instance, a PDF file and creating a DXF file by tracing over the PDF. If you are still having any issues with doing that, or you're not sure where to start, our data team will always be on hand to help you get started, try to get the first few right, and then you can possibly take it from there thereafter. But yeah, please reach out if you're not sure where to start or would like to even just get started with adding one product. We'd be happy to do it for you. Is that it, Jens?
That's it so far, but keep the questions coming.
Yeah, we're probably a little bit ahead of schedule, so if there are other questions, please do feel free to raise them. Pop back here. So that's pretty much it from me. You know, with as regards the demo and the even the information that I really wanted to present to you today. We are always available for screen share sessions, demos, or indeed any other type of meeting. We do very much welcome seeing you at industry events as well. So I just included this slide on where you can expect to find us in the next few months. Obviously, our own website is truckscience.com. The NTA website is nta.com. They have a Truck Science page on there. But then we will be at NTA's Work Truck Week in Indianapolis in March, as per usual. You'll find us in the usual place on the partner stand there. We hope to be at the NAFA Institute and Expo in San Antonio in April, and at Waste Expo in Las Vegas in May. I think the next couple of shows after that will be PWX, and then NTA's Commercial Vehicles Upfitting Summit, of course, later in the year. If you are new to Truck Science and would like to take a free trial of the software, you'll find that on our homepage, truckscience.com. NTA members who add their membership details will have their trial automatically extended from 7 to 30 days, and will also qualify for a trial, or sorry, for a discount on checkout.
A couple more questions have come through there, Sarika. The first is it possible to display individual axle loads on a tandem axle set? And the short answer to that is yes. I don't know, Sarika, if we have time to get to just show a few point loads on a truck.
Yeah, but okay, point loads. Yeah, I'll take. I thought that question might be related to the split between axles 3 and 4, say, for instance. No. I'll start with a brand new vehicle here.
Then while you're getting that up and running, there are another couple coming through. The one is, many public utilities are moving to CNG and electric vehicles. The weight distribution will change, and more examples should concentrate on electric or CNG. So that's absolutely right. And we have recently released a new feature that Sarika kind of referenced in passing, where one can specify the energy source of the vehicle, which then ties in with the regulations that that you're operating the vehicle in. But you can also then add batteries, CNG tanks, whatever it is that you that you need to configure on the vehicle, we cater for those. But I suspect maybe that's a statement around the content of our webinar, and certainly we have demonstrated some CNG and electric vehicles, but we do like to change it around a bit as well. Okay, Saki, do you wanna show the individual axle loads? Maybe the person that asked that question could just explain a bit more in detail. Is it the loads on the individual axles that you're hoping to see, or is it individual loads placed on the loading deck? In the meantime, we can see I'll move on to another. Oh yeah, okay. The question is on each individual axle. So axles 2 and 3, whether we can split the weight over those axles. And on a tandem axle set, we calculate the weight over the group, but we do calculate the weight if you were to add a pusher or tag axle, we do calculate the weight on those individual axles. But a tandem axle, we calculate the weight on the group. Okay, so thanks for that question. So there's another question there around, is there a limitation of how far behind an axle a fifth wheel can be placed? Specifically, we have an equipment truck pulling a supply trailer and wants to be 8 inches behind the axle. So as far as I know, there isn't a limitation as long as it's attached to the chassis, as in there's no limitation within our software. And Circa is just demonstrating it there. I'm pretty sure you can move that around, and there's the dimension there is specified as 15.7 in front of the axle, or 8 foot, not 8 inches. Oh wow. Okay.
8 foot, is it?
Okay, 8 foot behind the axle. Well, I suppose if the chassis is that long, I don't think there should be any issue with it. We'll soon find out.
Does that look about right? We have an issue here with overall length in Illinois anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say the answer is no. There isn't no.
We've run into some other issue now in Colorado. So I didn't really point that out, that it doesn't really make sense, I guess, to have 2 states chosen at once in this situation, but you can choose up to 5 states at once here when you're
Yeah, there's a follow-on question there asking, this would be no different than a pintle mounted tongue pull trailer. Now, the person asking the question, maybe I would advise you to reach out to our support team rather, so we can go into your calculation in a bit more detail, if that's okay. Then the next question is there a place to add in the weight and position for any structural steel additions and assembly hardware? So the answer to that question is yes. And Soka, maybe you can demonstrate just adding other equipment to a vehicle.
So if I just use this other equipment template, and then, for instance, possibly not the nice. I mean, I've changed the wheelbase here. Let's undo that. Okay, so this other equipment is probably the lower piece of equipment.
So that equipment, you can either represent it as a rectangle, as Sorka is doing, or you can import, if you have a DXF drawing of that that structural steel addition or assembly hardware, you can import it and display it kind of true to life, if that makes sense. Then there was.
Sorry, Jens, before you go on, I'll just show how this is then represented on the drawing. So we have this piece of steel, it's probably a little bit thick, but then it's added into the weights table. You can see its weight is distributed over I gave it a weight of 2,000 pounds, and it's distributed over the front and rear axles. So as I move it around, you can see the weight transfers from front to rear.
Okay, there's a question there about the alternative energy sources, and the question is, do we support fuel cell vehicles? And
hydrogen fuel cell,
yeah. So those are the different options that we support currently. So that's that, and you would then need to just specify the specific gravity of the fuel that you're using. So that's a yes. So then there's a question: do you have an understanding of the accuracy of the software compared to the final built product? Now, that's an interesting question. The short answer there is it all depends on the data that you put in. So these are calculations. Our calculations are, these are just mathematical calculations. So it really depends. If you have the center of gravity and the mass and the weights correct of the components that you are kind of building onto the truck, then the calculations will be accurate. So it really comes down to that. But generally, our customers find that the software is very accurate within a few pounds even. So yeah, but it does depend on the information that you put in. Then next question is, why is the tag or pusher a fixed distance from the axles and not adjustable? Or am I missing something there? So if you can maybe just demonstrate there, Sergio, that the distance is actually adjustable. So you can move that the pusher or tag. So yeah, I think that's I'm not sure what maybe if you also maybe you can demonstrate how you got to that part in the menu to adjust the spacing.
I simply clicked on the dimension underneath the axle 2 and 3, but then I guess something that you may have missed is this checkbox to override what the default was. So I first clicked on that override, and then you can type in whatever you need in there, and it will adjust. And maybe just to reference the previous question, the person asked whether we split the weights of the axles in a tandem group, and I said we didn't, but we do specify or we do calculate the weight exerted on the pusher. If you look at that weights table there now, we can see that the weight on the pusher is split from the tandem group. So you see the gross weight on the pusher here is 2469, and then the rear axles 3 and 4 are grouped together as 8736. You can also specify the percentage of the rear axle group weight that should be carried on the pusher. So you can override that also. Okay, it looks like those are all the questions, unless someone wants to ask another one still. But I think that's about it. Okay, well, I guess that's pretty much it for me too. Thanks very much for your attention, for making the time to come along. I know that we've covered quite a lot in a very short time. But as I said, you're welcome to reach out for a personalized demo. We can share our screens and work through something that's relevant to your organization. Before you go, I would ask if you could please rate the webinar and leave any comments or questions. So thank you for joining us, and goodbye.